What's up, everybody? So we are here with Catherine from Maywood Studio, and we are in the Maywood Studio Design Center, Design World. What do we call this spot?
Design Studio.
Design Studio. Okay, we're here in the Design Studio, and Catherine's going to tell us all about the process of not only fabric design, but also fabric put-ups or put-togethers and everything else. And you get to basically see her work and the final production in the quilt store. So Catherine, tell us about yourself and tell us kind of what you do here.
So, as Brody said, my name is Catherine. I'm the merchandising manager here. So I work with most of, with the collections once they've sort of been established and created by our design team. And once we have those in a digital form, I share them with pattern designers all over the country, and we put them into different quilt patterns or different projects, bags, garments, to show off our collections so that the reps can take that to the stores and you can see what you should make with Maywood Studio.
Okay, awesome. So right here we have some, what's the proper term for these? Swatches? Not
swatches. Let's call swatches. Paper swatches.
So we have paper swatches. Tell us, so somebody brings you this, says, okay, here's this collection, then what happens? What do you do at that point?
So our design director, Charlotte Flory, will start out with art or working with a designer who has an idea, or sometimes we work with antique art that we purchase. And she will use that as a jumping off point. For example, this collection is by Chris Lammers, and she's a watercolor artist. So she'll create these watercolor drawings, and then Charlotte and her team will go in and come up with different ways to show that off, different components to pull out, different colors to show off, and they will make piles and piles of paper versions of things that we put up on the wall, and they sort of curate, they go through, they pull, they change a color slightly, they tweak a design, add more cherries or add another fork or take the yellow down a little bit until they feel like they've nailed a good array of colors and patterns.
So can we put these on the wall and kind of walk through that process? Sure, obviously this is a finished collection, but you say, you know, change the yellow or change the whatever, but it's kind of hard for me at least to envision that from paper. So can we put it on the wall and do it?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's say this is one that we've decided on. We're definitely going to go with this one. And then we're going to
put up,
this one. Yeah, this is a winner. And then we're going to put up all these little gingham friends and see which ones we feel will be the best components to go along next to that. What might pick up the oranges or the citrus? What might be a good contrast color?
Correct me if I'm wrong, lots of times a designer will have, let's say they make 40 prints, okay? And then at that point, it might get narrowed down to where there's actually only 21 at the end, right?
Yes, so you start with these, the art or whatever you're starting with, and then you kind of go wide
everywhere,
and then you call the herd.
It always reminds me like when you watch a movie and you've got like it's like your crime movie. You have your one thing here, and then all of a sudden there's like a thread here and here and here. It's kind of like the design process of just, you know, I like this, and maybe we'll take it this direction, or I like this, we take it this direction.
Yeah.
So is there ever times when a designer comes in and says, oh wait, you took out this print, I really want that one in there?
Yeah, absolutely. They might
and then
say,
what happens?
So this might be down here, which is the graveyard. If you get moved down to the cork graveyard.
Okay, down to the graveyard.
And the designer may say, oh, you know what, I've designed a project around this, and it really needs this color of orange gingham.
Okay.
And that's kind of best case scenario, because you want a designer who's excited about specific SKUs
Sure.
and they want to use this fabric. And so if they are like, I want to make a case for this one, then we absolutely would take that into consideration, because if it's something that's going to be used, especially by the designer of the collection,
obviously you want
that's
that
a win-win.
to a win-win, okay. Cool, and so this gets decided upon, and then what happens? It goes into production?
And then digital swatches are made, we do a final round of printouts, and they send that over to the mill.
So then it goes to the mill, fabric gets printed. We just saw in our walkthrough with Brittany, kind of that whole process of receiving and going through everything. So then at that point, it gets cut into the collection bundles, and then you get it back, right? Okay, so let's sit down and talk about that. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. You get samples, right?
Strike off.
Strike off. Okay, so tell us about strike offs and what that whole deal is.
Yeah, so we get fabric straight from the mill, and they have printed it onto fabric, and then we were going to check it, and we run through it to make sure that the design is what we want, that the color is right.
Well, it's coming from overseas, so like they send you a piece, you check it. If it's not right, you send it back, then back and forth,
and
right?
It's like a ping pong game until you've nailed it and you have exactly what you want when it's on the bolt.
And then what happens at that point? You get the fabric is totally finalized. You get fabrics that then, what's your next step in this? So you've gone through this whole process, then you receive the fabrics as the marketing manager, and then what happens?
So I receive the fabrics as the merchandising manager.
Merchandising manager, sorry, wrong term. Merchandising manager, okay? So and your job basically is that you want it to look really nice for it to sell in a quilt store, right? And that the consumer sees it, you know, our viewers are seeing it, and they're then saying like, oh, I really like that. I really like, so what's your thoughts behind that? What are you looking for? Are you trying to stay within like certain color schemes? Do you follow the rainbow every time? Do you follow the color wheel? What do you do?
That's a good question. There's no specific algorithm. I do like to go
You're
in
invaluable,
some...
is what you're saying.
right.
They can never get rid of me.
It's a special secret. I can't divulge it. No, I want it to be, as a consumer, I love going to quilt stores. I love going to fabric stores. I love walking in and seeing something that I didn't intend to buy, and I want to walk over there and grab it. So I want that same experience. So I want the customer to see something and it just looks, it might be
beautiful.
Rainbow, it's often rainbow, or color kind of theme. I want it to have a good flow. I want it to make your brain think, oh, that fits in a project. I'll fit that in a project.
Cool. Okay, and so then do you do strip packs and 5-inch squares and 10-inch squares? Are you the one that coordinates all of that?
Yep.
And you just kind of just start laying them out and going? Or?
Yeah, I start laying them out. I put them in what I think will be a good order, and then you have to determine how many of each print you're going to have or each color.
Because a whole collection might not end up in a fat quarter bundle or whatever.
If there's a really big floral, I might not put that in strips because you don't want just a portion of that.
So you're a quilter, right? What do you call yourself a certain type of quilter? Are you a modern quilter? Are you a Civil War quilter?
I'm not saying it on camera.
You're not going to say it. Okay, not going to say it. How do you take a fabric that you might not necessarily like and make that beautiful for somebody else?
So that has been kind of the biggest work that Michelle and I have done here on the Maywood team, because Maywood does a little bit of everything, and we want to appeal to a wide variety of people, but we also want, if you like florals or you like novelties, we want you to look at the other stuff we've done, and like there might be a use for that. There might be a traditional floral that goes into a modern quilt design, and you kind of can look at it in a different way.
Yeah, okay. Tell us what's next.
So the next piece that I'm doing simultaneously to that is sharing the fabric with all of our pattern designers.
Okay.
We work with a number of quilt designers, bag designers, some garment designers, and I want to share the digital images with them so that they can put them into projects.
Okay.
Ideally, it'll be a new quilt pattern or a new project that'll have the Maywood fabric on the cover. We'll give them the fabric to make that quilt.
Okay.
We will then have it in our trunk show loan program, so shops across the country can borrow it. And we just really want to show how many different ways it can be used. So that's what I spend a good chunk of time finding different styles and different types of projects to show off. And then I move on to the sampling, which is actually sampling the fabric for the reps to take to shops.
Very cool.
Maywood shows as many collections as possible on fabric because we want the shops to know exactly what it's going to look like, not necessarily a paper printout.
And is that done here?
Yeah, we do that in-house.
Can we see it?
Sure.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay.
So guys, we just walked downstairs. We're in the sample room now. So tell us what's going on here. There's a lot going on. There's people over here working. Tell us what happens here.
So this is where we make all of our samples that we send to our sales reps to share with the shops.
Okay.
And this is how a shop will be able to see the fabric that's coming out. We want to show it on fabric. We want the shop to know exactly what it's going to look like when they bring it into their stores. Okay.
Obviously, when you have your strip packs and your 5-inch squares and 10-inch squares, that's what everybody watching this is going to see. This side of it is what I'm going to see as a my brother would see as the buyer, that I'm going to see as a quilt store owner, correct?
Yep, exactly.
Okay, so walk me through the process here. Let's see.
So we bring in our fabric on these rolls, and the team will come and they will stretch it all the way out into these lovely big long cuts, and then they're going to bundle it up to take it over to the cutting machine.
Okay, let's do it. Let's see it.
We have this in-house cutting machine.
Hold on.
Oops, yep, sorry.
Give him 1 second. Slow down, I know it's lunchtime, but.
So once we have the fabric folded together, we get it over here onto the cutting machine to cut down the pieces that we're going to put into the header cap.
Okay, and so this right here is basically a big pinking machine, right? So it cuts them, and then what's the purpose of cutting them? Why are we doing this?
Well, we wanted them to have nice pinked edges. We want them to be uniform. We want it to be a really nice presentation for the shop to be able to get an idea of how the collection looks in a very organized way.
Okay, so you cut these into rectangles, squares, rectangles,
strips,
and then they go onto a color card, basically, right? Okay, so show us the color card process, would you?
Okay, so the next thing we do is come over here, and the staff will lay out the fabric in the designated order that I've kind of put together.
Okay, the designated order that you put together. Tell us, I mean, that's the whole view of what you're doing is it's got to look good, right?
Yes,
So why did you take this breezeway and make it this order?
So I want this focal print that's on the back, I want this to be a nice big piece.
Okay.
So that the shop can see all the different components in this design. And then I want to show them that there's 2 color versions of that.
Okay.
And then it depends on the collection, but with this collection, I wanted to show that for these coordinates, there's 4 colors total available. So I want a shop to be able to look and say, I really like this one, and what other colors is it in? And they've got those right here.
Okay, cool.
And so it's kind of showing you how it can move from this sort of pinky color down to the red. And then we just kind of look with the other ones, if there's a stripe like this, again, I want to show like a nice big piece. You can see the stripe.
Sure, this will be like your border print or whatever that you want to make sure that, obviously if you see this much of it, you're not going to get the full idea.
Right, yep. So I want to make sure that the pieces that they're going to be using in larger quantities, they can really see the usage potential for that.
How many times do you think that you laid this one out, this collection out, before you said, that's it? First time's a charm?
No. Oh, I wish. No.
You don't want to be part-time.
I spend a good amount of time on it because I really want it to be a great tool for our sales reps. And I really want the shop to look at it and think, this is a great overall whole collection.
Okay.
So yeah, I would say probably 6 or 8 different times. I do it digitally, luckily, so it's a little bit faster, but I spend some time on it.
And I'm sure there's times you've done it digitally and you print, then it's sitting in front of you, you're like, crap, this is not what I wanted. Okay, so it comes over here, we just cut it on the machine, it comes over here, and then it gets laid out the way it should, and then what happens?
So then once it's laid out, we have the caps that are on here that list all of the different print names and the barcodes so that shops can easily order it. And then we just pop it in stapler and staple it down and roll them up and send them to our sales reps and our distributors across the world.
Okay, obviously when we order fabrics, a sales rep comes with a suitcase, they open the suitcase up and they've got, this along with 30 other collections that they do. And they also bring quilt samples lots of times too. So if we can walk over here and see kind of the quilt sample area and see how that works?
Sure.
So we're standing here in the second sample room. Is this still the sample room?
The Quilt Vault.
The Quilt Vault. Okay, we have the Quilt Vault behind us. And tell us what's going on with these. So obviously a lot of quilt samples here. What's going on?
Yeah, so we like to make physical samples of all the patterns that we carry, that we show when I merchandise the collections. We want shops to be able to put these up in their stores and not have to make samples themselves.
Okay, cool. Which is super beneficial to us because it's really nice to be able to get these from someone that knows what they're doing, that's designed them well. The patterns have been designed, the fabric's been designed, quilts have been put together. There isn't errors on it. Because every once in a while, you finish sewing a quilt and you're like, oh crap, I forgot, I turned that block the wrong way or whatever it is. So
and it's costly for a smaller store to
Yeah.
have to make a quilt and then the collection's only going to live for so long.
Well, and on top of it, you use the fabric that you could have sold as a quilt store. So,
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for showing us this process. We
my
really
pleasure.
appreciate it. It's one of those things that a lot of our viewers don't ever get to see. There's so many people like you that are behind the scenes that are making beautiful works of art, and it's not just like, oh, we're gonna slap this quilt together. You've spent so much time from the design process to the merchandising to everything else. So thank you so much, guys. And if you have not seen Maywood Studio Fabrics, check down the link below. You'll be able to get those down on our website. So thank you so much, and we'll see you guys next time.
Sounds great.